Hey y'all, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Mashika Amina. I am a yoga instructor, wellness educator, founder of a nonprofit called A Healthier You. And here on this channel, we talk about all things personal growth, wellness, intentional living, and creating a life that actually feels good to live. Today, we're trying something a little different. Normally, I'm on camera, but today I wanted this to feel a little bit more like a conversation. So, if you're folding laundry, taking a walk, driving, making dinner, or simply just taking time for yourself, I am genuinely happy that you're here. Today's conversation is about identifying what actually is for you. In other words, learning yourself first. Because I think so many of us spend our lives looking around at everyone else. We looking at other people's careers, watching their relationships, their routines, morning habits, businesses, and before we know it, we're trying to build a life that doesn't actually belong to us. We're literally just taking other people's blueprints and trying to mimic the same one when really we're trying to figure out what works for us and what does not work for us. Most times, people blueprints help them get to where they need to be, but that does not mean that that same blueprint will help you get where you need to be. Maybe some of those habits, maybe some of those routines, but not every single thing. One of my favorite quotes is to stay in your lane. I'm going to say that probably two more times. Stay in your lane. If you need to hear this one more time, maybe you needed this reminder for yourself. Stay in your lane. So many times we try to look at what everybody else is doing when the lane that we have for us is really created just for us, okay? Stay in your lane, not because you shouldn't be inspired by other people, but because inspiration should never replace self awareness, ever, like ever. Just because something works for someone else doesn't automatically mean it's going to work for you. It's just, it may or it may not. Your life has different values, different goals, different strengths, even different weaknesses, different desires. And to be honest, that is okay. It's genuinely okay. One of the biggest questions I have been asking myself lately is what do I actually want? Not what looks impressive, not what social media rewards, not what everyone says what success should look like. What do I genuinely want? Because once I know that, I can begin to create systems and structures that support the life that I'm actually trying to live. A lot of times we're looking at people's lives and habits, and although they may have the things that we desire, but how they got to it, you may not even identify with it. You may not even want to do half the things that they did to get to where they're at. And so you have to learn yourself. So instead of forcing someone else's blueprint into your life, all you have to do is just start learning yourself first. It sounds simple, but there's a lot of work that comes to learning with yourself. So, something I encourage everyone to do is to become a student of yourself. So, asking yourself, what do I genuinely enjoy? What drains me? What gives me energy? What values matter most to me? And when do I feel the most like myself? Because maybe you realize you love working with people, or maybe you actually prefer being behind the scenes, a little bit more quiet. Or perhaps you're someone like me who needs a little bit of both and figuring out when does that both look like. Maybe you love routine, or perhaps you value flexibility and freedom. Whatever answer you have, there's no right or wrong. It's just simply information, data. That's all it is. So when it comes to learning yourself first, you must learn from your own patterns. So when I look at my own history, I don't ever ask myself like, why isn't something working? Or I'm mostly asking like, what is my life trying to teach me? Or what has it already been teaching me and maybe I wasn't as aware. And there's a little quick plug-in note. If you didn't know, I wrote a book called What Life is Teaching Me, Lessons You Find When You Slow Down. And I took a whole year to write down all the lessons I was learning. And you all, I learned so much. But not only what I learned is that we repeat a lot of cycles and a lot of situations that you may not even be aware of. And so I am a advocate of being a student of your own life and learning from your patterns, because when it comes to what your life is teaching me, what life is teaching you, sometimes the data that you receive can help you understand if something is leaving you exhausted, whether it's people, whether it's jobs, whether it's strategies you're trying to implement, to add into your life. It's just all data. So maybe you notice every time you travel, you come home more inspired. Or maybe you notice like every time you talk to a specific person, it's not necessarily the energy you desire for yourself. It's just data. So when it comes to your life, just pay more attention, and then pay attention to what gives you, what makes you feel good, and pay attention to what doesn't make you feel good, because all of it is just data and information. Another thing you may want to do in regards to learning yourself is figuring out your strengths and weaknesses. So, identifying what comes naturally to me, what consistently feels difficult. Then ask yourself another question, something I had to ask myself this year. Is this weakness something I'm actually trying to improve, or am I forcing myself because I think I should? Not every weakness you have needs to be spent time on, because it may take you so much unnecessary time than you actually just spending time more on your strengths to get you where you need to go. You just have to figure that out for yourself. Sometimes your energy is better spent becoming exceptional at what already come naturally, and other times developing a certain skill will help you move closer to the life you want. The important part is just making sure you are intentionally choosing, not just like, oh, maybe this will get me there. Like, okay, if I do want to work with this weakness, what am I trying to accomplish here and why? Another key point around learning yourself first is building around your values. For me personally, I realize I value freedom, options, time, traveling, creating, slow mornings, having time to think. That means the way I build my life is going to look very different from someone else's life. And that's okay. I'm learning, like, some people may look at my life like, oh, that's boring. And I look at it very peaceful. And that's okay. Like, just learning what works for you and being okay with that. There's nothing wrong with any path that you desire for your life. Maybe you desire more a life filled with so much family, or a corporate ladder. Just deciding what you value, because you're no longer asking what is everybody else is doing. You just start asking, the things I am doing, does this support the life I am trying to create? And then from there, you move forward. So before we close out, I'm going to leave you with a few journal prompts and an affirmation. So the journal prompts, I just have two for you. If nobody else's opinion mattered, what kind of life would you build? What kind of life would you build if nobody's opinion mattered? And then the second question is, what have you repeatedly learned about yourself over the past, let's say, year or two? What have you learned repeatedly about yourself over the year or two? Take your time with these, no perfect answers, just honest ones. All right, so let's recap on what we talked about today. Stay in your lane. Very important. Rule number one, stay in your lane. Two, become a student of yourself. Three, pay attention to the patterns your life keeps showing you. Four, build your life around your values, not someone else's definition of success. And five, create systems and routines that support the life you genuinely want. Because the goal isn't to copy someone else's life, the goal is to create one that feels the most authentic to you. So, this affirmation for today, before we really close out: I trust myself to create a life that reflects my values, honors my needs, and feels true to who I am. I trust myself to create a life that reflects my values, honors my needs, and feels true to who I am. Thank you all for spending this time with me. If this conversation resonated with you, I'd love to know. Leave me a comment, share one value you choose to build your life around. And if you like more conversations on wellness, personal growth, intentional living, and creating a life that feels aligned, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, keep choosing yourself, keep growing, and I'll talk to you soon.